4, scene 2. Now I'm in the clouds. I'm not going to get too much into this first short little scene. This is another scene of comic relief, which is not very funny. Lord Capulet is trying to make preparations for the wedding, even though at this point he doesn't think there is one, and he's talking to a servant, and the servant said, Capulet says to the servant, "Get me 20 good cooks." And the servant says, "Oh, I won't get you any bad cooks. I'll get you all cooks who can lick their fingers." Because he said, an ill servant cannot lick their own fingers. So this could mean two things. One, as a cook, if you're eating from a cook that won't even lick their own fingers, that means they don't even want to try their own food, and it's probably not someone whose food you want to eat. Or, if they don't have any fingers, it's a lot harder to cook. Now, at line 17, Juliet comes back. The nurse says, "See where she comes from shrift with a merry look. Look, she's coming back from talking to the friar, and she looks happy." Capulet says, "How now, my headstrong? Where have you been gadding? Hello, cocky little child. What have you been up to?" I had a teacher in high school who used to say that every time someone would walk into the classroom late. Juliet says, "I went and I learned that I'm supposed to be obedient to you. And I begged Friar Lawrence to forgive me, and I said, from now on, Dad, you run the show. I apologize." Okay, at this point, Juliet really needs to make her dad believe that she wants to marry Paris and that she feels bad about it. Okay, so she has to lie a lot here. And she does that because if Dad doesn't believe her and doesn't believe she really wants to get married, they're going to be much more suspicious about other things that take place, like wanting to sleep alone and all these other things. Okay, so she's got to lie about it and be very careful about it. Lord Capulet says, "Go get Friar Lawrence." By Friar Lawrence, I mean Paris, because Friar Lawrence was not the person who wants to marry. "Go get Paris and tell him we're going to get married." And Juliet says, "I already met him. I saw him at Friar Lawrence's place, and I gave him what affection I could without being unmodest. You know, I kissed him, and that was about it. There wasn't anything else going on." Capulet says, "This is good. This is good. And I'm going to thank the friar, and our whole city is much bound to him." Which is more true than he even knows. Okay, so he thinks the city is much bound to him because now it's going to let Juliet marry Paris. But really, the reason the town is so bound to him is because he married Romeo and Juliet without anyone's knowledge or permission, and so the big fight in the town is now kind of bound up in what Friar Lawrence did. Juliet says, "Nurse, will you go into my closet and pick up my clothes for me?" And Mom says, "No, they're not till Thursday. We got plenty of time." Dad says, "Go with her. We'll go to church tomorrow and we'll thank Friar Lawrence." Juliet and the nurse leave, and now we're just left with Juliet's mom and dad. Dad says to mom, to wife, "You go to sleep. Tonight I'll take care of all the operations and I'll make sure everything's ready for the wedding." And he's just really excited and really happy because now his daughter isn't disobeying him. He doesn't have to go back on his word that he gave to Paris that Juliet would do whatever he said. End of Act 4, Scene 2.